So Ty, I'll let you lead us off. Ty, what is your ideal offseason for the Phillies?
All right, so ideally, of course, is just what we talked about. But with these off seasons that we put together, we put some caveats in front of it. We are going to assume that the payroll will be about $10 million less than what it was last season. So that gives the Phillies, based on what they are projected for next year already, it gives them about 50, 55 million to work with, something in that range. It isn't an exact science with these projections, but it's pretty close. So here is what I have put together if I was running the Phillies and if I was given that much to work with. The first thing I'm going to do is in arbitration, I'm going to keep Hector Neris. We assume he gets about $5 million, something in that range, because they did decline his option. So he's staying in arbitration. I have everyone else that they haven't already declined or released in arbitration. They're staying on what they're projected for, other than Vince Velasquez, who is going to get non-tendered, and I'm re-signing him for $2.5 million. So that saves about $1.8 million. People will, compared to what he was projected for, people are going to argue with me about that one. But the Phillies will need somebody in that swingman role to eat up some innings in either the bullpen or as a starter. So that's what I'm doing with all the arbitration players, other than the ones I've already gotten rid of, like Hembry and Morgan. Everyone else is staying on what they are projected for. First free agent signing, I'm going out and I am bringing back Drew Smyly for $6 million. Smyly really put it together in San Francisco this season. If the Phillies have him, that improves their team by a lot this year. In 2020, if they had Drew Smyly, not that their starting rotation was bad whatsoever, but they could have used him. Next thing I'm doing, he's a guy that I have talked about on this podcast before. Jock Peterson coming to the Phillies on what MLB Trade Rumors projected him. 2 years, $18 million, so that adds $9 million to the payroll for next year. Peterson can, if there is a DH, maybe take on a little bit of a wider Jay Bruce type of role. He can split some time in center field, left field, first base, right field if there's a rare occasion that Harper isn't playing. But he's a legit power bat against right-handed pitching. Left-handers, different story, but he's going to help the team. Next person I'm signing for what he was projected on MLB Trade Rumors. He was projected to the Phillies, I believe, if I remember correctly. Liam Hendrix coming for 3 years, $30 million, add $10 million. He's going to be a legitimate back of the bullpen kind of pitcher. Then I'm signing Marcus Semien for 1 year, $14 million. The same thing that Didi Gregorius got. He'll come in, be your shortstop. You can reevaluate after that. You can see what you have in Bryson Stott for 2022. Maybe he even comes up at some point this season. I think that's probably likely. So you're signing Semien, bringing him in on the Gregorius deal, and then you can see what Stott is, or you can go after somebody like Lindor or one of the other shortstops next free agent market. Another former Philly coming back in, $1.5 million for a year. We got Aaron Loop, World Series hero, other than that one game, I guess, but he was pretty good throughout the playoffs. Aaron Loop, a Phillies and
World
Rays
Series
legend.
hero, except for the fact that they lost the World Series.
Listen, man, it doesn't matter. Then we're bringing back for 3 years, $6 million. Jose Alvarez, he'll be making $2 million next season. Maybe he signs for something like $3 million, but I think 3.6 is pretty reasonable. Gets a little more length out of that. And he was one of the most important bullpen pitchers on the Phillies the last couple of years. Probably Matt Klentak's best move, other than probably signing Harper. But Alvarez is legitimately good. Him going down this season after getting hit by that line drive maybe is the reason they missed the playoffs, of a million reasons, but that is one of them. Then for $1.5 million, we're bringing in reliever Carl Edwards Jr. He had an injury this year, but if he can pitch like he did with the Cubs, like that's a pretty reliable right-handed reliever. I think that could be a good addition coming off injury. The last free agent signing, I said it last year, I'm saying it again. For $750,000, Phillies are bringing back Tommy Hunter. I think in a little bit less of a role. He was all right for most of this year in a less vital role. I think that's a pretty good bargain. I know people are ready to move on from him, but hey, if you're capping yourself at $10 million under what you were at last year, give or take, you're going to have to sign some cheap vets. It's just what you're going to have to do. And then the last one, the big one, the staple of my offseason, JT Realmuto will not be returning because of the financial limitations that I have. I could not add all these players and his projected contract. So we are trading Mauricio Llovera and Kyle Doey. Maybe it would take a little bit more for this. That's fine. We'll throw some more prospects in to this trade. I wrote about him. We're trading for Gary Sanchez, who's projected to make $5.75 million. Power hitting catcher, kind of underrated on defense. Not that he's a great defender by any metric, but passable on defense. Was pretty bad this year. Seems like the Yankees are done with him, so it doesn't seem like it would take that much. But that is my offseason. We're trading for Gary Sanchez if I am the GM of the Phillies.
All right, I'm going to counter you on some of your moves just for, the sake of argument. So Drew Smiley for $6 million. Would you rather have Drew Smiley or Adam Wainwright 1 year, $6 million?
Drew Smiley.
I think I'd take Wainwright. Would you rather? I don't know. Would you? There was one more in there. See, the thing about Peterson and excuse me, I'll get into this in my offseason. He can't hit lefties. $9 million feels like a lot for a platoon bat when you're kind of in general the team is cheaping out.
I think there's obviously more righties than lefties. So if it's somebody that can only hit against lefties, I think I agree with you. But a majority of the time, he's going to be able to play. And if he's played center field in the past. He's probably not great at it. But if he can split time in center field with Kingery, and Kingery faces lefties most of the time, I think that's a win.
All right. Interesting. Yeah, I do think the Sanchez trade would probably take a little bit more, but
I don't know. The Yankees did not start him in the playoffs. They feel like they're pretty much done with Gary Sanchez at this point, whether that's for better or worse.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued in the Gary Sanchez trade. I think that makes sense for both teams, especially if the price is relatively cheap. Do you have what your starting lineup and rotation, everything would look like?
I didn't write that down, but my rotation, it would just be basically the rotation for most of last year. Nola, Wheeler, Eflin, Howard, and we add in Drew Smiley. If I am running this team, that's what's going on. Drew Smiley, and then Velasquez is kind of the swing man, the backup starter there. And yeah, just basically replacing Arrieta with Smiley. And like I said, it would mostly be the same lineup as last year. Insert Gary Sanchez for Realmuto. It'll be Segura at second base, Simeon at shortstop, and then Bohm at third, and then kind of mix and match with Kingery in center, Peterson in center. If there's a DH, then Peterson and McCutchen will both get some time at DH.
Thank you for watching this clip of the Phillies Nation Podcast. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts and always stay up to date on everything pertaining to the Phillies on PhilliesNation.com.